Hey everyone, you are listening to The Aniston Anthony Show. On this podcast, I talk to you about personal finances, personal development, and how to grow in life and life in general. The episode begins. So, this is a podcast depicting the job of a startup company versus a job in a well established company. Alright, it so happened that me and my friend we were invited to a marriage function and we were having our dinner together in that marriage function. So we were eating calmly, standing in a corner. And what happened was an auntie whom we both knew, she just passed by and she just introduced herself and we introduced ourselves. And we said, like, we were working in an IT company. I said, I'm working in Accenture. So she was like, oh, well, great. Accenture is an amazing, beautiful company. So many people, so good. Of course, it's good. Of course, Accenture is one of the best companies to work in. And she turned to my friend who was working in a company called Log Me In, and it was pretty not much famous to be true. Most of the people haven't heard of this company because it was in their initial stages and it wasn't that popular as TCS, Accenture, Wipro, Infosys in India. So she said like she hasn't heard of this company and she just assumed that it is one of the worst places to work in, and she assumed that I was making lakhs of rupees per month per year, whereas my friend who was in Logmein wasn't making much. But to be honest, the fact was way different. Even though she didn't knew what the company Log Me In was, his annual income was close to 26 lakhs. He was having the same experience as me, 5 years of experience, while in my company, I was making 6 lakhs per year. So the reason I brought up the story here is even though people haven't heard of the startup companies, the pay and the culture in the startup company is way amazing comparing to the big four companies which we assume. Even though our relatives, our neighbors, the people who we talk to haven't heard of the companies, maybe they have heard only of Infosys, TCS, Accenture, Wipro, and so on. Even though these companies are well established, their pay will not match to the pay of a startup company. And adding on to this, she was saying she was looking for a groom for her daughter. So when she browsed through the marriage profiles of grooms, what she found out was like she was very eager to look for grooms for the companies she knew, like TCS, Infosys, but she was very reluctant to go for the grooms for the companies where she didn't knew. So our society is now molded into the shape where we think that bigger companies, the companies which we have heard of, are paying well compared to the companies of startups, but that is not the reality. That might be for some exceptional cases, but the reality is very different. The reality is our society has to accept that the startup companies, the companies which we haven't heard of, are the emerging companies. Those are the companies which will be paying extraordinarily high compared to the established companies. One of the other advantages where we get to work in a startup company is the skill set and the experience we get throughout that tenure in that company. Since it's an emerging company, we will be associated with the whole varieties of roles and the skill sets we need to apply in those roles. Through our tenure in that startup company, we'll be forced to work in different roles, gaining different experiences. This experiences, even though it might be hectic in the few months, maybe few years, it will be superbly beneficial when you jump from one company to another. This mixed experience, mixed roles, mixed skill set you will not get in an established company. Once you go into a big company like TCS, Infosys, your role will be narrowed down. You will be specialized to do in a particular task which your role is asking for. I'm not saying this is bad. This might be good for some people, but for the people who want to learn as much as they can, they might find this position a little difficult. Alright, coming to a financial perspective, I want to stress the point of a salary package to the standard of living to the essentials which we want in our life. Even though we are getting a package of, let's say, 3 lakhs per month, if our expenditure is more than 3 lakhs per month, there's no point in getting 3 lakhs per month. Suppose if a person is getting maybe 20,000 per month and his expenses is maybe around 8,000 per month, and he's saving 10,000 per month of that 20,000 which he's earning, which is more than 50% of that which he's earning, and he's actually investing that money somewhere. In the long term, this person will be beneficial. In the long term, his investment will grow abundantly. Let me give you another example. If a person is having 60,000, 70,000, or let's say 80,000 per month a salary, and his expenses is 90,000 per month, every month he will be on credit card dues, every month he'll be on loan dues, every month he'll be on dues, because his expenses is more than his earnings. In the scenario, there's no point how much you will get as a salary. Your standard of living will be extremely high. You will be having 2 3 loans, you will be having a fancy car, you will be having a fancy house, but every time it will be loan. You have to close the loan, you have this expenses, that expenses. The peace of mind you will be getting will be extremely difficult compared to the peace of mind you will be getting to a person of 20,000 rupees per month. So I want to conclude this podcast as saying, whatever you are earning, let's say you are earning 15,000 per month or 20,000 per month, save as much as you can in the initial days of your career. You know, down the line, you will be having more expenses. Your salary will be getting higher throughout the year, but a portion of your salary you must always save. The higher the percentage, the higher the portion you save, the better off you'll be in your coming days. By this, I wish all the people who have listened to this start saving, start early, invest wisely for a brighter future for you. I hope you have found this episode useful. Try to share this episode to the people who needs to listen to this. I'll catch you up in the next episode. Goodbye.